The 2022 regulations, which were supposed to be released in 2021 but were postponed due to COVID-19, had one guiding principle: to allow closer racing. In recent years, the increasing complexity of Formula 1 cars has undoubtedly harmed racing quality. The complex winglets protruding from the bodywork produce a stream of dirty air that causes cars behind to lose downforce, making overtaking more difficult. To put it into perspective, research shows that current F1 cars lose 35% of their downforce when running 3 car lengths behind a leading car. The 2022 car, developed by Formula 1's in-house motorsports team in collaboration with the FIA and emphasizing the aerodynamic phenomenon known as ground effect, reduces those figures to 4%. This, combined with a complete redesign of the car's front and rear wings, as well as Pirelli's new low-profile tyres, has sparked some speculation from the grid about how these new machines will handle and how much slower they will be than current cars. With that said, let's take a look at what the drivers think about the upcoming changes and how they will affect the Formula 1 landscape. McLaren driver Lando Norris believes that the 2022 F1 cars will alter the driving styles of all drivers on the grid. In a recent interview, the 22-year-old expressed uncertainty about whether the cars will suit his driving style and how long it will take him to adapt to them. I don't know if I'll be really good with it or I'll struggle a little bit with it. I think it's going to be the same case for everyone. Yes, of course there's some, I don't know the word for it, like not nervous or anything, but some question marks like, how are you going to have to drive? Is it going to be a driving style that suits me? Like one that I'm not sure with or one that I'm going to have to adapt to. And curiosity, that's the word I want. Lando Norris stated that all 20 drivers, regardless of their performance in 2021, will be venturing into uncharted waters next season. Everyone is going to have to adapt because it's so different. No one's driving style today is probably going to be the one that you can just jump into next year and do exactly the same. It will have to change a little bit. When asked if the McLaren driver was concerned about the time it would take to adapt to the 2022 regulations, Norris gave a brief but precise response. Definitely. Lando Norris has been hailed as one of the strongest drivers in Formula 1 by McLaren executive racing director Andrea Stella, but he admits there's room for improvement next season. Norris enters 2022 with McLaren after having his most successful season in F1, picking up podiums, a maiden pole, and coming agonizingly close to a maiden win in Russia. However, not everyone on the grid agrees with the McLaren superstar. 2021 Mercedes driver Valtteri Bottas insisted that the 2022 cars are more similar to the 2021 versions than Lando Norris has suggested. Bottas's primary focus for the 2021 season was obviously on Mercedes and assisting them in their battle against Red Bull on both World Championship fronts, but he also had half an eye on Alfa Romeo after signing a multi-year deal with them beginning in 2022. As a result, Bottas has logged laps in both the Mercedes and his new team simulators, and he has a probably surprising answer about how the 2022 car feels. At least at that point it felt like the cars are a bit off in terms of downforce, but the overall feeling, at least in the sim, wasn't that dissimilar in either of the simulators. We can't simulate following other cars and stuff like that, but it's not crazy different. Maybe still a bit less downforce, but like I said, that will change. Bottas also believes that the difference in speed and performance between the new generation of Formula 1 cars and their recent predecessors in the turbo hybrid era will be quickly diminished to the point where there'll be little difference between them. It's been fun, especially last year. The cars were even faster than this year with more downforce. They'd be nice, but I'll let you know next year how are the new ones. If the racing is better and we can follow them all closer, then it should be even more fun. And I think the cars in the future will be as quick as now pretty quickly. Hopefully that's going to be the case. Red Bull's Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez, on the other hand, appear to share both drivers' sentiments, but caution that it's too early to make firm predictions about how next year's cars will feel. Following preliminary testing, the newly crowned champion declared, "It's been alright, just a little bit slower, but at the end of the day we first need to see the real car on the track and then we'll adjust the simulator around it. At the moment everything is still a bit of guessing work, so I don't pay too much attention to it, to be honest." Perez added that the 2022 car isn't too bad and that it's still early days, but that anything would feel different compared to the current generation of cars, which are the fastest in F1 history. "I've only been driving the 2022 car a couple of times on the simulator, so we have to wait until we hit it on the track and start from there, but it's obviously very different compared to the current regulations. I think these cars we're currently driving, we'll never see them again in the history of Formula 1. These are the best cars we've driven, all the people have driven in the history, so unfortunately everything will feel bad compared to these cars, but I hope it's just enjoyable to drive." With the spotlight on the new regulations in the upcoming season, we won't know how the teams stack up against one another until winter testing. While Red Bull remains optimistic that its Formula 1 title push did not jeopardize its 2022 development, team principal Christian Horner believes that teams like Ferrari knocking it out of the park next season could prove them wrong. The Milton Keynes base team was locked in a close battle with Mercedes until the final round of the season for both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships, with the honours being split between the two outfits. While Red Bull and Mercedes were kept on their toes until the bitter end, other teams such as Ferrari made a much earlier complete shift of resources to work on their 2022 challenges. And with the new rules still in their infancy, that head start could allow those teams that went first to enjoy an advantage from the start. Red Bull team boss Christian Horner is confident that his team has struck the right balance between work on 2021 and 2022, but he's also aware that a final decision on whether its prospects have been harmed can only be made at the first race next year. When Ferrari turn up with the fastest car and smash us out of the park at the first race, then you'll have to say that it probably did compromise us. But I think we've all known that big regulation changes are coming for 2022, and we've applied our resource accordingly. I'm sure each team has done what they feel is right, and it's put pressure on the organisation, of course. But that's where I think the team have been outstanding, because to keep a development rate on a new set of regulations and keep a focus on this year's car has taken a monumental effort. The commitment shown by all of the team throughout the team has been phenomenal, but we've only seen when we come back in a couple of months' time with completely new cars. They look different, they're going to feel different, they're going to drive differently, and who's got it right, who's got it wrong, it all starts again. Mercedes boss Toto Wolff agreed, saying that in addition to rivals benefiting from an early development focus, the weighted aero handicap system, which allows more wind tunnel and CFD work for teams lower down the order, could further shake things up. We're all operating under the same financial cap and the concepts are very new. Then what was introduced is the aerodynamic regulations, where teams based on their standing in the championship had a little bit more allowance. So it's pretty much possible that teams who hadn't competed for the World Championship this year, whether it's Ferrari, McLaren or Aston Martin or Alpine, are capable of coming up with the intelligent concepts based on much more runs than everybody else and just doing it very right. I think we need to expect much closer fighting for championships and races than we had before, and that's exciting. In contrast, however, some have expressed concern that the change in regulations will result in more of a field spread, with some teams having discovered better ways to unlock performance. However, F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali is confident that, with teams still figuring out the new rules, any advantages gained at the start of the season will be quickly eroded. It's clear that in the context of a season that starts with a new regulation and the budget cap, differences between the cars could emerge greater than what people might expect. But I'm equally sure that the limitations linked to the new regulations will mean that if there are these differences, the gap will be closed more quickly. Domenicali's belief in the competitive landscape changing quickly has been backed up by Ferrari team boss Mattia Binotto, who believes that the key factor next year will be how quickly teams can respond to their competitive situation at the start of the season. It may be that at the start to the season there will be a difference in competitiveness between the cars, because of the ways in which each team may have interpreted the rules and the solutions they may bring. Here's what I think will be important, as Ferrari's being capable of understanding weaknesses and addressing them very quickly. So it's the team reaction that will be key. We cannot be confident of having a competitive car from the start, because you never know what may happen when you've got such a big rule change, but it's about being capable of addressing it as soon as possible. With the teams and drivers now looking ahead to 2022, it will be interesting to see how they develop, but the performance reshuffle will not be visible until the first race of the 2022 season. What are your thoughts? Will Mercedes and Red Bull maintain their stranglehold on the other teams? Will the gaps narrow or widen because of the rule changes? Please let us know in the comment section below, and if you liked the video, be sure to like, subscribe and click the bell to receive notifications when new videos are posted.